What's up, guys? Welcome back. It is the final day of season 6 of Clatter of the Clans, and of course with me again today is my lovely co-host Span Cargo. How are you doing today?
I am great, DK. I'm really excited to go on ahead and join you again for the last day.
And of course these teams have been up to quite a bit of action, getting into quite a few interesting fights along the way, making it all the way in towards today's matches. And of course, you know, we've all seen what that leaderboard looks like, but just in case everybody forgot, we're going to jump into that and have a quick look once again. So of course, as we can see here, jumping straight on in, we've got our standings looking ever so lovely. Of course, we've got the players there from Active Gaming sitting right up in pole position on 222 points, 4 points ahead of the players there from the Old Guard. And of course, both these teams sitting on 90 and above kill points so far.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane, especially when you go on ahead and take a look at the difference and just the total amount of points added to that. So it's been a long time. I mean, definitely they've been giving the opportunity to go on ahead and be able to gain that much. But even when I joined in the first few days, they were still gaining like monsters how many points that they were able to pick up.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing quite like, you know, seeing monsters play some PUBG. And of course, speaking of which, we're going to be jumping on to our main map here for the day, which is of course going to be over on towards Erangel. So as we make our way on through onto that, of course, we've got one of those imaginary flight paths once again. It seems to be a thing, even on the events I see casted on the PUBG website or the PUBG YouTube channel. Same thing. The flight path is also just, it's missing. So in case you can't figure it out,
keep us on our toes.
yeah. I mean, so it's going to be interesting. Seeing that it's so far south, I'm wondering where the zone's going to go, though.
There is a potential that this could go on ahead and go down to military base, if that's the question that you're asking. Yeah, it could go on ahead and continue to pull up to the northern side as well on the mainland, and I feel like I'd like it to start there, at least personally, you know, just start off on a good foot, you know, because if it goes to military base, I mean, we'll end up seeing how many teams go down there, but usually not too many go military base, and then it's really just the fight of how are people going to rotate, and are people going to rotate near each other, and everybody's just going to take each other out like pretty early.
And of course, we haven't really seen, as you mentioned, a lot of these teams really pushing there, so I think it would actually be an opportune moment to potentially move in towards military base, seeing that we know not a lot of them really go for that rotation. And of course, our ever lovely plane flying sideways as it exits the map there, just leaving in style. You know, that's just what you got to do.
There's a little plane path in the center of the map.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Welcome to PUBG Mobile. But of course, now we see that zone popping off as well, heading over in towards the northeastern side of the map there. So it's going to be interesting to see where the teams are going to be rotating up into, as we've got such a big concentration. In fact, the whole lobby situated down in the southern half of the map.
That is a super hard plane path for this new zone pop. I mean, everybody who decided to wait to the later side of the plane path at least has a foothold in here, but if people are going to want to get a nicer spot inside the zone, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these teams actually grab vehicles and potentially drive farther away to the northern side to loot up. Like, especially, I mean, your killer is, now that they've grabbed vehicles around that shelter spot, like, they could potentially just drive on up to Yasnaya if they really wanted to.
Yeah, and they're going to have a very uncontested loot, you know, completely isolated from the rest of the teams all the way up in the north. But I'm curious to see what the players from Active, Old Guard, and Dream Team are going to be doing here today. So yesterday, I made a suggestion and said, you know, well, I don't know if you could really call it a suggestion, but I made a comment saying, like, I want to see the players from Ghetto Youth, Blank Legion, ATROX, JUNTAS, and version 3. So the teams essentially sitting on the lower end of that leaderboard, right? I want to send them, I want to see them rather today showing their power, because they've got a lot of power. They have the ability to really impact that leaderboard, especially the top half of the leaderboard. I mean, if they are able to take out the teams at the top, you know, there's a lot of disruption that could come in from that. So I'm looking forward to that, looking to see what the teams on the lower end of the leaderboard are going to be doing today.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to go and pull out today as well. I mean, now is the time for them to go on ahead and try some risky stuff or become a bit more aggressive, you know? I mean, it's the last 3 games, so I'm looking forward to see if we're going to see a little bit of, I mean, different play, a little bit more chaos potentially as well. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and of course we see several teams now starting to make that trek on up in the direction of zone, and a heavily congested southern region that we see there. But of course, if we look into the zone itself, over towards school, Ghetto Youth, and of course the players there from Tactical, just taking up positions there opposite each other. The rest of the lobby still slowly making their way in the direction of zone. Of course, they still have quite a bit of time left on the clock. About a minute, 40 seconds remains. So this is the opportunity these teams really have to get out, start exploring, start finding those positions which they think should be advantageous in the coming phases. And of course, then try to, you know, fortify them as best they can.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I definitely love that your killer did decide to grab the vehicles and drive up to Yaznai. I mean, nobody's going to be around them. If we look further to the south, there's so many people. Even actually, yeah, look at that. Team Active now shooting at Blank Legion as they're driving by. I mean, there's just it's going to be really hard for some of these teams to actually make this rotation into the zone if they decide to go on the southern side. It's almost be better to go on ahead and attempt to spread out as soon as possible, or all the people that are outside the zone on the west side just need to make a huge rotation up to the north.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be Ooh. Sorry. It's gonna be, never mind. Okay, you take it. I'm busy choking.
Okay, yeah, well, you figured that out. I mean, it does look like at this point people are grabbing their vehicles and starting to make a move. I'm a little bit interested actually in what Blank Legion is doing. You can see the detective actually now in the very center of this first zone. He's sending it straight towards Mansion. So it seems like they have the idea straight. They know. They have an idea. They're just like, we gotta go ahead and get out of this southern portion and find ourselves a spot to play up here. And right now it looks like they're heading towards Mansion or even Heaven or Hell.
So again, we're only seeing a few teams already starting those rotations. I mean, as I was trying to say before I got so rudely choked up there, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams are going to rotate in and where they're going to choose to rotate to, seeing that there's such a concentration of teams still on this western side especially. I mean, so far it seems to be a fairly easy approach into the zone. But of course, we're going to be looking towards that continuation for afterwards, you know, as to see where these teams are going to try and pull on up into. Now, speaking about a team that is trying to pull on up, that is exactly what we see coming in here for the side of version 3. They've moved in right here alongside the players now from Active. And this is potentially one of those fights I was asking for yesterday.
This looks like this fight is key. It's interesting. I'm surprised that version 3 are making a crash onto this and want this compound. It kind of looks like Sleek wants to at least have some sort of a way to go on ahead and back off. Probably has identified that one of the active members are beside him, so trying to throw out some smokes to prevent some sort of sightline. But if they're not careful here, I mean, Active was here first, so you need to keep an eye on that. I mean, this isn't the only teams that are actually really close to each other inside this phase 1, and I think that's kind of surprising because there is a huge opportunity to just go on ahead and leave each other alone, and there's enough space inside of this zone for everybody to fit. But it looks like version 3 wants to be aggressive, tossing some utility over to Active right now.
Oh, but also remember, this is the final day. This is all or nothing. So hoping to see some aggression, some very, very nice aggression coming in from the teams here. And of course, I mean, Active Gaming, as we not Active Gaming, version 3 rather, they are in a position where they can pretty much now do what it is they want to do without worrying about, you know, the repercussions of those rotations, of those movements. You know, heck, I would even dare say they could be a bit outlandish in their maneuvers that they attempt here today. You know? So that's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah, I did like NEOP's. I liked his attempted push around onto Active's 2-story there, but he was alone, so there's no way that he was going to be able to get any sort of a trade there, so he just ended up being caught out. Now we can see that MJ Games, I mean, his teammate, they're just kind of waiting at this point to see if they're going to be able to spot somebody out as they make a move. They're kind of stuck on the very edge of this zone, so I'm surprised, like down to the south there, so I'm kind of surprised that they wanted to go on ahead and take this spot as their chosen spot for the zone.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, come on. This is where I want to see the action. We want to see the violence. We want to see the players come rushing in, come running in, you know, doing like kamikaze plays, you know, just like, well, you know, it's all or nothing. If I get you wiped out, great. If I don't, great. You know, I tried, and well, yeah, you got 1 or 2 kills along the way. You know, but either way, this could still make for such an entertaining day here today.
Oh, it definitely could, yes. Oh, he almost ran into that tree there as well. I was gonna say, and I mean, this is such a hard zone to go on ahead and make a rotation into, so I'm looking forward to see if people are gonna be running into each other. We already saw a skirmish there at the beginning up to the northern side by school apps. There's actually another one that was happening pretty early. Now, as you can see, there's a bunch of people making a rotation in this same area.
Ooh, come on, active. They've looked right at Trippy Main and Co. I mean, now Ted Bundy comes running in, almost knocking over his teammate. But this is also an interesting position, especially for the players from Extra. They're currently sitting up in 9th place, right? I'm pretty sure they won't shy away from any additional points that can be awarded to them. And they started off fairly nicely, finding a quick few shots into the side here of Active. But now, hoping to see whether or not they're going to try and continue and follow up with that momentum once the red zone, of course, now dissipates, because they are caught in a fairly tough position. And now they just managed to find their way through. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They still have the next zone, of course, now continuing up in towards that northeastern side.
Yeah, I mean, your killer is going on ahead and driving up to Yasnaya. So far, definitely is working out as it actually goes on ahead and pulls up there and centers on them. If they are able to go on ahead and put themselves in a good position, probably taking the southern part of Yasnaya, maybe sending out somebody else to go play that field, they could have just the stronghold of the very center of this zone. Meanwhile, we can see that Team Tactical Esports, they have somebody driving directly beside them, and it looks like actually they haven't put themselves in a good position. They flipped their vehicle, and now they're just trying to prone it out and not get spotted. But I mean, Tactical, they have a crate and they have a roof, so if they just turn around, they would be able to spot them out, but it seems like they're just a little bit distracted for right now.
It's a fairly interesting position that they've got themselves in, because I mean, we got 2 players from Tactical still positioned over towards the apartments. The other 2 have just snuck on in, as you of course now mentioned. They've rolled the vehicle, just flipped it on the side. Snow just patiently lying there watching the drop come down, as one does, you know. Standard procedure, nothing out of the ordinary. But now I'd like to see what they're going to be doing with that positioning. Are they going to try and rush into the side of the players? You know, will we see Extra take a bit of a rush in here, try and get into that and maybe contest him for that position? Or, you know, which way could it go?
I'm not sure. I mean, right for now, though, I have a feeling that Tactical has no idea that they're right there. They haven't even taken a shot in their direction. Instead, they're shooting at everybody else, including Extreme here. Enigma, it looks like they're deciding to play a little bit of a troll bridge troll game. You know what I mean? They're underneath the bridge. Looks like there you go. Yaha's also going on ahead and joining his teammate as well. I don't know if that's what they wanted.
That was a bit of a show-off move coming in there from Yaya, driving on the opposite end of the railing. You know, the part of the part of the bridge where the road is not. Yeah.
He almost pulled out a cool trick for us. He knew. Oh, nice. But it looks like Enigma is able to go on ahead and at least pick up one of the members from Seven Deadly Sins there. Went on ahead and actually extended from the compound a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, it was Yaya with those fancy moves, you know, drawing them in, saying like, come look, something's gonna happen. And of course, now even the players from version 3 hearing that, as you can see them now looking pretty excited as they are caught on the side here of Active Gaming still. So a good continuation on the fight,
still together. Yeah. Yep. A good continuation, but I mean, they both move. They're not in the same compound, but they're in the compound right beside. They're all in Snake now, on top of each other. At least they're not directly on top of each other. At least at this point, there's a little bit more distance. There is the opportunity for a team to play up on the northern side and an entirely different one to play on the southern side. It's just, you know, version 3 needs to be a bit careful because, I mean, Active Gaming, they still have all 4 members up and they only have 2. They only had 3 to begin with.
Yeah, and I mean, they're also our pole position team for the time being, so You know, they can afford to take things as massive as they want for the time, as long as they stay ahead of the old guard. That is kind of their only mission, to try and hold on to that lead that they've got.
Yeah.
So if they get a bit of retaliation coming in from version 3, one, it'd be amazing for version 3, but of course it would be a pretty tough play on the side there of Active. But speaking of the old guard, they are still all the way out in that blue zone. They haven't rotated in just yet.
It's like they're just waiting, biding their time, you know? Maybe at this point they're just waiting for the zone to pop right when they make it in as well, so they can just continue their rotation wherever this next one goes. But it seems like they're kind of having trouble. Did they maybe lose one of their vehicles? Now they're getting picked up, but to be able to continue. Maybe ran out of gas or something, but we can also see that it's kind of the same for Active. They have some people in a vehicle, but the rest of them are just running up this hill.
And Genocide, of course, now trying to avoid the Genocide coming in there from the red zone, as it now also starts to trickle onto the teams here. But we also see the players from 7 Deadly Sins now being reduced down to only 2. It is Jin and Maysam as they try to hold on to their compound. Of course, several teams in the vicinity. We got the players there from Tactical on the one side, and of course then the team here from Extreme on the opposite end, and expecting a few more teams to potentially move into this region. But of course now with that zone shifting up into the north, Rez are just they are in the sweet spot in that zone.
That is the best spot that you want to be in at no lean. So it looks like Resurrection, they started off all the way to the west and they had to make a northern rotation. And it's from them no lean. And now this next zone pop, they don't have to move whatsoever. So now it kind of looks like your killer is. They had all of Yasnaya to themselves at this point. Yasnaya, I don't think it's going to pull back down there. So they need to go ahead and try making a rotation up to the north and be grabbing some of those ridges, some of those mountains up to the northern side and quick before everybody else decides to do the same. So we're about to see a lot of scrapping it out on the side of this mountain. Yeah, you can see all of them instantly in their vehicles making a move, because that's exactly what you have to do in a hard shift like this.
Yeah. I agree with these rotations, that they are absolutely crucial for these teams to continue to fight in the coming phases. But of course now Genesis being the team that is moving right up onto those hills as you suggested. But of course your killer is venturing into the trap there that the players from Rez had set up for them. And it's an essential compound to potentially try and move in. I mean, it's a really good positioning within the zone, and potentially if the next phase comes in, it could still be within the next zone.
Yeah, I think that it's a strong possibility. I mean, this next one is only going to be 2 to 3, so don't quite know where it's going to go yet, but it also looks like your killer is and Genesis eSports have run into each other. They both have gotten to dog shacks at the same time, and now it's an all-out gunfight. Ooh.
Ooh, your killer is not even wasting a moment, getting straight into that engagement. Nice show of aggression coming in there for them. But of course now we got a Warlord just positioned up on the top of the ridge line. We got Dre and Puppy though. Oh, okay, it seems like they're starting to head back on in, but Warlord now just dropping all those smokes, trying to conceal his position while he tries to fall back up in towards safety. A good disengagement, not gonna lie. I mean, I think he kind of figured out that he doesn't have really good odds against a full squad.
No. I mean, the rest of his team not coming up to help him, it definitely was a decision of they were calling him back. So definitely some nice defensive smokes there to be able to drive out. And now they will be able to nicely play that northern compound by themselves for a while, but they did lose that a little bit better position of those dog shacks. Meanwhile, oh wow, it looks like a huge fight actually come through here between Team African Rise and Dream Team. Looks like Dream Team kind of on the winning end so far. Where's the rest of African Rise? Oh, there we go.
Racing down the mountain. That is where they is.
Yeah.
So they're not coming around the mountain. They're racing down the mountain. Trying to find a good position. And Adam now getting caught in a fairly uncomfortable position. The last remaining player for the team. So many teams all still trying to push on up. Ooh, version 3. They got a kill. They got action. They got some hits. That is their first kill for the match. Well done, well played. And of course, well, we hope to see many, many more come on in. But this zone in particular is going to be quite interesting to see, as it is in such an interesting portion of the map. Quite the challenging bit of terrain that we've got up ahead of us.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to decide to pull away from that water even more. So this is, in fact, going to be a huge fight up on the very side of Stalber Hill. There's just so many ridges and rocks to be able to play up there. Obviously, I think at this point, everybody wants to be found on the eastern side with that little bit of the height advantage. Everybody coming from the western side could have that disadvantage trying to look up those rocks, but also potentially just being able to use it as some cover. And again, it looks like, I mean, the team that was shot off from the dog shacks, they actually have found themselves in even better position than the one that they wanted originally. So Genesis, they seem to be in a really good position up there. They just got to make sure that from that position, it's kind of in a bowl, so they need to make sure that they don't overextend out and get shot from multiple teams that are now coming around them.
Yeah. One team that is now definitely forced to face the music is the players here from Your Killer Airs. We see the team here from Extreme coming in with a bit of a rush right onto the side of them. Of course, opening in that gap for the team there from Blank Legion just to sneak on through right between them. A few utilities now getting sent on up here from Sparma as well, but a nice bit of aggression coming in once again here from Your Killers. They've already had a few kills. Shroud right there on the opposite end. Oh, Anonymous getting hit by the molly. Beautiful knock follows its way on through, and Hasbot and Sid, now the two remaining players here for Your Killers, and you can see them now frantically just trying to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, it looks like they don't want any more part in that. No way are they going to be able to go ahead and push up and look down those rocks with the entire foreman. They were unable to catch anybody out there, so they're just going to go on ahead and, I mean, just risk running up to the northern side and playing all those rocks in that foliage like we mentioned before. I mean, up here it is able to go on ahead and be able to hide, but just from that kill that we just watched, there's also a huge ability to be able to spot anybody from up and down the side of this open mountain.
Yeah, and things are just going to keep on getting absolutely crazy as we see all the teams now starting to converge into the zone. Oh, a little bit of a glitch there. The buggy getting stuck in the window. What a way to park that vehicle. But up comes Ghani, rushing straight on into Detective. Up comes Hybrid, though. Oh, following up with a beautiful hit. Quickly just reclaiming the Wizard Tower, taking control of that. And of course, now there is only one remaining player left for the side of Tactical. And this is not Ghetto, but still a great opportunity there as he breaks down the door, comes rushing in, finds the knock back into Detective. Up comes Hybrid now, just trying to challenge him. Down he goes. Beautiful exchange.
Wow.
As the whole squad from Blank Legion just got taken out. Beautiful assist coming in there from the side of Extreme.
Yep, and now that Wizard Tower is his and his alone. I mean, as a solo, that's definitely a position you want to be in. You can see that, I mean, Your Killer is kind of looming up above him inside of all those rocks. And there's, again, the zone shifted. All these teams are going to be trying to push towards him, but at least he has some sort of a card cover to be able to play out of. But it looks like Casbot wants to try and challenge him for it, and he's not going to be successful.
Yeah, definitely try, but of course not succeeding in that one. Down he goes, and now everything is up to Sid. Sid now being caught in a fairly tricky position here. So many teams still in the vicinity. Dream Team now also starting to move on up, creeping their way on to the edge of that ridge. I mean, so many teams still positioned up in those northern reaches. And it's going to be quite interesting to see, especially what is going to be happening with the teams we have up in that northwestern side.
Car going on ahead and driving by. It looks like they just pulled on up and instantly inside of a fight. We can see a bunch of downs here for Ghetto Youth. And I mean, it looks like ATROX, they are not stopping. They're trying to push instantly. They want to go on ahead and take these guys out as fast as possible. But ooh, there we go. Patriot did not spot him through that grass there and is able to get them both down again.
Yeah, I think we had a bit of a smoke glitch coming in. Oh, Sly. Just retaliating on that one. I'm pretty sure that was the smoke glitch that we just experienced there. You can see Yaya now trying to stop up. No! Trying to avenge his teammates. Beautiful drop shot comes in and finds the head. Sly just wiping them right off the map. And of course, now they are facing quite a bit of a challenge. They need to try and find their way back in towards that zone. The 5th phase blue zone is absolutely brutal. It will wait for no one as it makes its way on in. And of course, the damage just starting to add on up. As you can see, quite a bit of a fight now erupting on the edge of the zone here as the players all try to push on in. Active Gaming still in the mix, making a quick dash for those southern reaches. As you can see, Gad already setting up that anchor point right up ahead.
Yeah, it looks like they have actually found themselves a spot. So Active Gaming have found themselves a spot. I'm actually surprised that Genesis, they had just north of this new circle, and they are unable to get inside zone so far. They're actually taking a lot of casualties. I mean, it's just down to one person left. Super low HP, taking on a ton of people up on this northern side. Everybody just ended up grouping over here because of all of the shifts. And it looks like JUNTAS are actually going to find the last one, but instantly it's just the trade of the solos there. Wow.
I mean, beautiful play coming in. JUNTAS just finding those easy hits. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out at first. But now also the players from JUNTAS getting ended as well. 7 teams now remain. 17 players. The players there from XTREME, of course, sitting still on a very good number. All 4 players alive, of course. Same for the side there of Dream Team. You can see the players here from Old Guard currently up in 2nd position. Not out of it yet. Same goes, of course, for the players there from Active. Both our top 2 teams still within play. 4 points separating these 2 teams. Will that change after this match? Will it remain the same? Or will we see any additional other teams potentially stepping up, trying to contest them for that position? Down goes Active at the hand of Rez. And of course, now the insanity continues as the teams push further and further in towards the zone. Beautiful positioning, though, coming in from the Dream Team here.
Yeah, they had all 4 members up, but it looks like now as they're getting in a fight with XTREME here, their numbers are slowly dwindling down to just 2 left. A lot of blue zone actually taking the rest of them out, and he's still gonna push, but unfortunately it looks like he will be losing that fight versus Spamma. So I mean, Team 9 XTREME Gaming still alive up here, and as you can see from this next zone shift, they can't stay here for long though, as the rest of the zone decided to continue to go over to the western side.
And GHETTO now coming in with those hits in the direction there of Rez. But this is an interesting position, 100%, as we got a few teams on the high ground, the other 2 teams on the low ground, and the zone kind of now moving down in towards these lower reaches. So I'm curious to see how those 2 teams up at the top, the Old Guard and the players there from XTREME, are going to play the zone and try to find safe passage or safe position within this one.
Ooh. And it looks like, I mean, the last member for Tactical Esports, I mean, it looks like he ended up falling down this mountain a little bit. So now he's smack dab in the center. He doesn't have that height advantage, and he knows about where Resurrection is. So he's trying to toss over some util, and he might be able to go on ahead and do something cheeky here if Resurrection gets distracted by these teams coming up from the north, from the side. One of them actually being a Crash coming in from XTREME Gaming.
Ooh, here we go. Here we go. Nax now testing the waters as he pushes on up. You can see Jigsaw dropping down into the blue. Oh, down he goes. Not at the hand of Naxlo, but here we go. Here we go. XTREME now applying that pressure, sneaking in right on the side of Rez, finding some beautiful angles in towards their Mon. Now just trying to get up ahead of that blue zone as they now all start to push further and further inwards. You can see, of course, those casualties just finding their way on through. Here we go. GHETTO now stepping up, trying to get the shots into the side of the Old Guard. But fortunately, they are just hidden behind a few rocks. But of course, Tactical needs to be very, very careful as he is still very exposed. Can easily get striked by the teams moving in from that southern position. But here we go. Oh, GHETTO finds the hit.
Nicely done by him. I was wondering if that Molotov was going to do the last bit of damage, but he was just able to be out of its range. So, I mean, GHETTO being able to pick up that so far. This team has 10 kills, and I mean, they still have a few more to go. 2 more teams left. I mean, and it looks like he is going to go out fighting now as he's continuing to toss in as much util as possible into that smoke that he now sees directly to the southern side. I mean, 4 alive. Let's see if GHETTO will be able to pull it out here. I mean, he has a really good position here with zone.
Yeah, man, things are looking really, really tough. Oh, Mon tries to step on up, but gets absolutely punished for that rotation. Now, GHETTO tries to find the last few hits, and he gets it into the side of XTREME. Tactical claiming a chicken dinner, finishing off with an absolutely phenomenal game. And of course, this is their first chicken dinner of the series, of the finals.
That was really well played. I mean, they had that little upper portion being able to play that as a solo, and then all he had to do was wait for them to be forced to come out into the open at the very end there. So I think a great play being as a solo, being able to take out the people to his north and then taking advantage of that position. I think that was really well played for him as a solo.
Yeah, that was just insane stuff. And of course, I mean, he's got the kills to reflect that. I mean, tactical finish on a collective 12 kills, 10 of those being awarded to not Ghetto. So absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal stuff. That is what we want to see in the finals. We want to see them spicy gameplays, and of course that is exactly what we got. But of course, as we make our way on through, now we see the players there from Extreme finishing off on a very, very decent 11 kills, only one behind the players there from Tactical. So again, just amazing stuff. And both these teams came into today sitting in 9th and 10th place.
Ooh. So there's the potential for some potential leaderboard movement is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping a watchful eye on that. But of course, now continuing on a little bit further down, we've got the players from Race coming into that 3rd place, finishing off, as you can see there, on 6 kills. Then we've got the players from the Old Guard over in 4th place on only 1 kill. Dream Team finishing up in 5th place, coming in on 6 kills. We've got the Active Gaming team over in 6th place with 3 kills. Your Killer is finishing in 7th on 2. Juntas finishing in 8th place on 1. Genesis over in 9th place. African Rise in 10th. Then, of course, we've got the players there from Ghetto Youth finishing up in 11th on 3 kills. We've got ATROX in 12th place on 4 kills. Version 3 in 13th on 1. And, of course, then Blank Legion over in 14th place with 1 kill. 7 Deadly Sins in 15th place. And sadly, the players from Extra, the first team back into the lobby, finishing off with 1 kill. But I gotta say, this was an absolutely amazing start to the day.
I definitely agree. That was definitely some hard to play terrain that all these teams had to find themselves into. So it's interesting to see how all of them dealt with pushing into the zone. I mean, we ended up seeing a lot of the teams actually be destroyed there, but still, even just as solos, a lot of them survived at the end and were able to do a lot for their team there. So that was a lot of interesting solo fights at the very end.
Yeah, really, really, really impressed. And of course, well, hoping to be even more impressed as we move into our next match, which is of course going to be over on towards the Miramar map. So stay tuned. And of course, we'll be seeing you guys right back after the break. What's up, guys? Welcome back. What a spicy match we had in the previous one. Of course, beautiful performance coming in. We saw some heavy kills come from that previous game. And of course, a result of that is a change in the leaderboard. So, Span, take us through it.
Well, first of all, Active Gaming and the Old Guards, they've been holding our first and second position. I mean, the game before, they're actually separated by 4 points, and it looks like they're continuing with that same distance. And then the two teams that we wanted to keep an eye on, Tactical Esports and Extreme Gaming, we can see here that, I mean, Tactical Esports, they went on ahead and moved from 8th place to 6th place. And Extreme Esports as well, they moved from 10th all the way to 7th place. So those two games did in fact go on ahead and jump them up really well, at least 2 or 3 placements, just because of that one game. And I mean, we still have 2 games left. I wonder how much further they can go on ahead and move up. But at this point, it does look like it's going to be harder based on the total amount of points for the rest of the teams above them.
Yeah. And of course, well, to make things a little bit easier, they have a very decent flight path to kind of assist them along the way and onto this Miramar map. So I'm curious to see where the teams are going to be dropping down, seeing that we have a very comfortable flight path there from Impala heading over towards the west, just stopping south of El Pozo. So I'm curious to see how the teams are going to be dropping in this game. Are you expecting to see aggressive drops or a little bit more tactical dropping?
You know, I'm not really sure what to expect at this point. I feel like if there are teams that are really close, I would expect them to be aggressive onto the teams that they need to take out, or potentially the teams that they know they can go ahead and clean up for some potential early game points, you know? So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in these last 2 games, especially on Miramar, where nobody should really be around them to bother them. So I definitely think that's something to keep an eye on as people are still continuing to jump.
And of course, we'll be finding out soon enough exactly how the people choose to jump. And so we got a few teams now already pushing up a little bit further in towards the north. But of course, now the players there from Extreme, they're dropping straight down in Impala, completely uncontested. So they are pretty safe to loot up in anticipation of that zone. Waiting to see where, of course, it is going to be heading over towards. And now we've got a few interesting drops, but of course, no surprise. El Pozo, quite a few teams moving in. But also San Martin looks to be fairly spicy.
Wow, yeah, there's really nobody else around in that part of the zone, and it looks like our first phase is actually going to pull over to the western side as well, so we're gonna have some big fights happening in some of these cities, and then the rest of the zone is gonna be pretty open for the teams that jumped earlier to make a rotation into.
Yeah, and of course, we could potentially be jumping straight up into El Pozo. Just waiting to see where these teams are moving into, and it seems like it is going to be a fair bit of a hard drop. 3 teams heavily contested. Impala indeed, and of course, well, the players from Your Killer is making their way on through. We've got the players there from Extra, of course, just up ahead of them, and then the addition of Genesis over towards that far side. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to approach this. Will we see a bit more of an aggressive showing coming in there from the side of Genesis, because they're currently sitting up in 8th place. Your Killer is, of course, sitting up in 4th place. So there's about a 70-point difference between Genesis and Your Killer is. And then, of course, the players from Extra, they're sitting over in 10th place. So they are actually just 20 points away from the players from Extra.
Yeah, that means I probably wouldn't be surprised if I see some of these teams go and be aggressive. I mean, Your Killer is. I think that they definitely have the ability to go on ahead and do so. They're kind of safe up on a shelf for right now. I mean, the team right below them, they have a long ways to go that I don't know if it's quite reachable in 2 games. So, I mean, Your Killer is, it's kind of up to them. Are they going to continue to try and be aggressive and gain even more points to go further than 4th place? Or are they just going to go on ahead and leave, preserve that 4th place position, even though I'm pretty sure it's safe? Meanwhile, these other 2 teams, they're still scrapping it out. They still have the ability to potentially move up a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get into an early game fight as well. Especially, I mean, actually, eSports are kind of stuck in between these 2 teams.
It's a bit of an awkward sandwich. It's not really a pressured one just yet, as there's still quite a bit of space. But I agree. I'd be interested to see how the players, especially from Your Killer is going to take this match. You know, will we see that aggressive play coming in from them hoping to improve their position or improve their standings? Or are they going to just try and maintain that 4th place?
And I'm also really want to know if Snow is going to hit this win shot. It would be amazing if he did so. He has an idea of where Your Killer are. And they also have to be, of course, wary that over on their western side they have a whole nother team. I mean, the only way that they're really going to get out of here is if one of the teams beside them decides to disengage.
That's very, very true. And of course, on that note, the wind just stopped blowing, so we have a little bit of silence back on the map. But we see over on towards Hacienda del Patron, of course, also the players there from Rez, as well as ATROX, in very close proximity. In fact, they almost dropped right on top of each other. So trying to make a quick rotation out, but up comes the hits, finding its way. 2 players getting knocked out. And it is now up to Jigsaw and Leonidas to find safety off in the distance as the shots continue to find their way on through. This is a very tough start for Rez.
That is not looking good. I mean, this is the team actually that I was talking about that's directly underneath Your Killer is. They're about 40 points away, so that's like is doable in 2 games. It's really difficult to, but now after that showing with 2 of them being shot out of that open back truck, I really don't think so. So I think Resurrection also at this point needs to just try and maintain that 5th place position, because what's more probable is, I mean, Tactical Esports, Extreme Gaming, the rest of the teams like just below them have more of a chance to be able to go on ahead and catch up.
Yeah, well, of course, it depends on whether or not they're going to try and, you know, make anything with that opportunity. There is still quite a bit of space still left in the zone for these teams to move up, and also that enables quite a few interesting maneuvers and rotations to come in from the teams. But of course, we still have the teams over in towards El Pozo, that being the players from Extra and Genesis, with the addition of Your Killer is actually rotating out of there and instead trying to improve their position elsewhere in the zone.
It also looks like he has a crowbar out and ready to go ahead and toss. But yeah, it does look like, I mean, it looks like Extra Esports are definitely ready to. They do have the ability to go on ahead and leave at this point from Pozo, but they don't want to move just yet. I mean, they are in fact inside of this first zone, and I'm actually surprised that there wasn't more fighting in these 2 spots where multiple teams dropped.
It is sometimes just that You know, it just is the way it is. But of course, I'm really hoping to see, you know, quite a bit of that aggression coming in as we approach those later phases. I'm curious to see how many of these teams are going to rotate onto that western side. Because Blank Legion, they're all the way down in the south. They've got a fairly easy passage back in towards the zone. JUNTAS might run into a few obstacles as they, of course, now approach. But Active really taking the safe approach all the way up in the ruins, completely out of reach. All these teams, but they also still need to consider where are they going to try to push into, as they now only have a few more seconds remaining. The blue zone already starting to make its way in, so this is where those essential rotations come in, because I think the next position that they move into could be a defining position.
I agree. Ooh, it looks like at this point, yeah, there's going to be quite a few teams that are kind of using... They're right near each other, making these rotations, so there might be some shooting happening there. But yeah, you're right on everybody else is making their rotations. I mean, I do think that Active Gaming should be able to just make it over on the western side. Blank Legion's going to go on ahead and join them over there as well. And I mean, in a zone like this, there is a potential. There's a lot of areas that the zone does not like shifting to, right? So this next zone shift could potentially still go anywhere inside of this zone.
But I'm liking that positioning that we see from Dream Team. They've moved up in towards Monte Nuevo, spread themselves out. It could be an essential anchor point, of course, also depending on where the zone goes. But we've seen before, if the zone starts to tend towards the west, it kind of then continues slightly to, you know, suggest itself in that direction. So if that is going to be the case for the next zone, they're already kind of safe and already kind of set up. And I also like the fact that your killer had just rotated up onto these compounds just north there of Monte Nuevo. But Dream Team, they don't seem to be too satisfied with their position, as we have them now rotating up and heading straight up in the direction of your killer.
Uh-oh, Shroud here is waiting. Oh no, Archer. Oh, taken down very low. It looks like he's kind of figured out. There's somebody on the other side of my car. He needs help. He's calling it. And it looks like he's actually going to be able to get the down onto Shroud, using that vehicle as his cover really effectively. And here comes his teammate to go ahead and help out.
Very strange.
That did not go the way I expected.
Yeah, but a very strange maneuver coming out there from Dream Team. Like, I don't know where they were. Maybe heading up onto that warehouse, just up in the northeastern side, potentially. Maybe. We don't know.
Maybe they wanted to play these ridges and didn't realize that your killer are here.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they would have been able to see or potentially even hear their vehicles moving into that compound right beside them, but apparently not, as they just drove right on up. And it looks like, are they crashing? They're crashing. They're being aggressive. I think this might have been on purpose.
He might have spotted that extra little bit of movement and decided, you know, hey, you know, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's full send. Let's see what happens. I mean, Dream Team currently sitting in third place, so if they get aggressive, great. They earn additional points. You know, get in some free, easy kills along the way. But of course, if they don't, it could be a bit risky, but because both these teams are sitting in third and fourth place, there's currently about a 30-point difference between these two teams. So, your killer in fact, is the team that needs those additional points. And if they can find them, thanks to Dream Team, I mean, then why not?
That's very true. But I like what Dream Team is doing right now. They're making a huge split around completely attempting to surround your killer is. So your killer just needs to be a little bit careful. It also looks like they've lost the majority of their upper portion of their claim. Oh, another one actually being taken down as well. So the rest of your killer is now trapped inside this building. One of them is still up on top of the ridges above, but if the rest of Dream Team are able to continue their surround, he might be taken out and pinched by two members very shortly.
Yeah. I mean, if this fight works out in favor of Dream Team, well done. That is then a very excellent execution on some aggressive rotation, stepping it up right into the competition. And this literally is the competition. It is the closest threat. Oh, here we go. Choker now stepping on in with the hits. Oh, seals the deal on 2 of them. But of course now Sid still alive up on the hill. Down he goes. Beautiful play coming in there from Dream Team.
Yeah, very nicely played with them. I'm actually so surprised. I mean, with that initial push, we were kind of confused. Didn't realize that maybe they weren't doing it on purpose. But definitely once they found one of them, it was purposeful at that point. So I'm kind of curious to know whether that first push was on purpose or not, if they knew of their location. But either way, they were able to pick up the points with no casualties, and now they have that center spot with nobody to bother them. Meanwhile, it looks like Blank Legion ended up finding out Extreme Gaming on their rotation, instantly getting a knock and a flush onto one of them as they're leaving.
Oh, but of course, a very open position for them to be fighting in. We've got a few shots, of course, now. A few fights, rather, erupting over in towards that old Bozo positioning as well. But now the team here from Extra taking up an interesting position. I'd love to see kind of a repeat of what they had in the previous match, you know, that beautiful follow through. And of course, you know, even potentially coming into second place once again. If they pull that off again, I mean, that would be absolutely beautifully done.
I do not disagree. I just hope that Extreme Gaming now has vehicles at this point, because they're super far over to the edge, actually currently stuck kind of between 2 teams. But it seems like the old guard has kind of realized that they don't want to stay there, so now maybe they might be able to leave off on that northern side. Meanwhile, it does look like JUNTAS, I mean, wasn't this one of the teams that you wanted to keep an eye on? Now getting into a little bit of a fight with version 3.
A little bit of a scuffle, yes, and of course these are our 2 teams sitting right at the bottom of that leaderboard. But of course, I wanted to see an aggressive play coming in from them, directed towards the teams positioned higher up on the leaderboard. You guys should not be fighting. Stop it right now. Down goes Bumblebee. So JUNTAS down to 2. It is, of course, Damon and a Pikachu that remain to make their way on through. But I'm really hoping to see a bit of that aggression coming in from both these teams, JUNTAS and version 3. But please aim that aggression to the other teams
on each other.
Yeah, don't waste it on each other. Come on, I know. We want to see you fight the other teams.
They need to go on ahead and gain points, though. I guess a good way to start is the people around them, right? I don't know if you'd want to risk taking those fights with the people around you, honestly.
Well, I don't know. But I mean, it would make for some amazing plays here. But either way, now we see the teams now starting to move on up. Dream Team, of course, holding on to that position where they just rushed into. We see the players there from Tactical actually now starting to move up just north of them. So this could be another team potentially becoming the next targets here for Dream Team.
It could. It does look like Dream Team. I mean, they ended up taking that spot back, right? And I'm just wondering, though, were they able to keep their vehicles now as they're just running around here? Someone is directly above them, and now I'm really curious to see what is going to happen with this next zone, because there's like 2 ways, right? It's either the zone loves favoring those compounds and those little ruffles down there on the southern side, or it really likes those Pozo fields.
Which one do you think it is, though?
I think you might go Pozo Fields, so that means they need to be ready to play up on top of that hill.
You ready to find out? Ta-da!
Potentially. There's potential.
So we still have 1 minute and 20 seconds left until the zone starts shifting up. So we gotta wait a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
That was a test.
Completely.
That was a test to see who's paying attention. Oh, Henny definitely paying attention to the surroundings. Big up on that one, finding the shots. Not getting the knock, but definitely finding the shot. And it's good to see the players here from Ghetto also still sitting on a full squad.
Yeah, but I'm interested. Well, actually, I'm not really surprised if they're still stuck up here inside of San Martin, because this is the side where there's about 4 teams that kind of ended up dropping on top of each other, right? So now that a bunch of them are kind of all trapped near each other is not super surprising. And JUNTAS, though, it looks like they're unable to find a vehicle. They're just straight up running through the middle of the field, getting shot in the back. They need to be careful here as they do this.
They got stealth mode engaged as they now try to push on up. But things are starting to heat up over on towards the southeastern side of the zone. So you can see Tactical. We see the players from ATROX we see the team from Dream Team and Old Guard. All three of these teams getting up and personal right here down in the southeastern side. Old Guard, of course, now spotting out that rotation coming in from Lucid Start. So they could potentially be setting up a bit of a defensive line there right on this ridge.
Well, they know that they need to take this ridge, I'm pretty sure, so they want to go and try and wipe out Old Guard, or at least pester them for a long time, making sure that they don't leave their compound. Oh, but right now it just looks like a little bit of exchange of shots as Dream Team tries to get a little bit closer. And
of course, few more hits to spread out throughout the zone. A little bit of action up in the north, a little bit of action down in the south here. And I'm really waiting to see where these teams are going to be pushing into. Will we see an aggressive send coming out? As, of course, the players here from Dream Team. Oh, now push onto the side of the Old Guard, finding some fantastic hits. Hazen and a Batman are being two of the survivors. Now there's only two players left in their team. That, of course, being Batman and Joey.
Yeah, and they're both kind of stuck inside of these buildings. You can see they're now letting each other in, trying to get those reses. Meanwhile, a Dream Team is just completely surrounding them. All this could take is, we actually saw one being tossed right there in the other room, is just a little bit of a singular nade. Oh, and another one tried running inside the building. He also ended up getting knocked. So this looks like it might be closing the end towards Old Guard. And you can see that Joey now is trying to play those windows. He's the one with the full HP. He needs to be taking an aggressive stance against his teammates.
Oh, nice. What a play coming out here from the players of Old Guard as they try to hold on to the top floor. But now, of course, stepping up to the stairs. Ooh. Joey, though, finding some beautiful hits. One jumping out the window, getting ready to flank around from the outside. Up they come. Oh, what?
Wow.
You beautiful, beautiful
That was really
play.
Nice. And it was worth it. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, the kill feed can't even keep up. That's
the
how you know.
zone also shifted towards them.
Yeah, zone shifted down in towards that southeastern side. Ooh, look at this. We could have quite a bit more action now coming in as the teams are getting ready to push on in. Active still in the game. Now, trying to find those angles into the side there of African Rise. But of course, so many teams and players still just spread out up ahead of them. Not Cloud now stepping in. Oh, finds the hits in towards 6-9. Goes for a quick confirm on to that as well. Now we see the rest of the team starting to potentially maybe just rotate out back in towards safety. Savage, of course, now using the fastest vehicle on the game. There he goes. Cruising up at light speed. That's, of course, sarcasm. It is not that fast. But here we go. And that vehicle looks pretty potent. Oh! That was savage.
Ended up staying in there for a little bit too long. Yeah, I mean, Rehan, they had the idea, though. He realized that he needed to go and grab a position inside that field, but I think he ended up going a little bit too far.
We saw in one of the previous games, in one of the previous days, one of the players also driving with a vehicle severely damaged like that one. And, of course, the vehicle just blowing up because it overheated. So, unfortunately, we didn't see that one happening again. But, of course, it got ended by a few, well, lead flames finding its way into the side of it. But now, Genesis also coming in with a bit of a show as they enter into the edge of this western side. Pulling up right here alongside the players from Extreme. So we're still sitting on 12 teams remaining in this match. And, of course, 34 players still alive. So things are going to get pretty hot and heated as the zone continues to shrink inwards and the teams are just all getting forced closer and closer together. And of course, on that note, Ghetto Youth's vehicle gets blown up.
Wow. Yeah, the rest of Genesis, they're trying to go aggressive onto this, helping out their teammate. It looks like they're actually deciding to go and crash into Extreme Gaming's compound, now shifted outside of the zone, but it's too late. They're already here. The question is, are they going to just finish off this fight, or are they going to try and rotate somebody else? And a huge nade coming in from one of the members of Extreme Gaming. They're actually taking a lot of them down below half HP.
I mean, some beautifully placed nades can be the end of so many teams. And now this is where Genesis needs to show us what they've got as the players from Extreme continue to apply the pressure. You see the players up on the hill there, of course. Active Gaming finding a few shots in with the AWAM off into the far side there. And things are still looking very spicy and very tight on the edge here. But of course, yet another nade now getting sent up there from Spama. Finding not too much just yet. But of course, they need to decide how they're going to try and continue on with this fight. Is it going to be worth staying here? They are only, well, 200 meters away. But of course, there's still quite a bit of ground for them to cover to make it into that zone successfully.
But just could have the opportunity to take out of here with their vehicles if they just brought up into new zone. But it looks like I want to take this fight. I mean, the rest of this team unable to really toss nades in their direction because of how many smokes they went ahead and sent out. But at this point, it looks like they're committed.
Oh, Genesis trying to put up a beautiful fight, but of course just succumbing to the pressure, succumbing to the hits. The players here from Extreme is coming in with some beautiful defensive shots there, but of course the blue zone is making its way on in. You see the players there from Active also now just trying to squeeze on up, trying to find a good position. But this is where things are going to get spicy, and as we of course heard Mr. Tarzan saying, we are now moving into our frag phase.
That we are. It's finally the point where our zone is a little bit too tiny for how many people are alive. It's completely out in the open. There's not too many places for everybody to be able to play. And because of that, it looks like Active are now trying to crash onto Resurrection's shack here. Oh my goodness, insane with Extreme Gaming. Oh.
Man, that is one way to end it for your team right there. Come crashing into a little shack already occupied with a team, and then of course having another team on the opposite end. But beautiful nade now from Active finding its way in, ending off one of the players there from Rez. Up comes yet another one. Jigsaw just trying to evade the damage. Leonidas, of course, being the one that got sent off, but the shots now finding the way on over towards the players there from Active as well. Blank Legion stepping on up, and of course Jigsaw jumping at the opportunity to try and sneak in a few easy kills. From that one, we see Cloud, of course, now just pushing in, trying to provide that extra bit of cover, but down he goes, gets taken out in the process. Now not Cloud, trying to smoke it up, trying to provide that extra bit of cover, but of course they are already quite exposed. You can see that continued effort onto the side there of Cloud.
Yeah, completely out in the open. Wow, this zone just, it is in fact favoring that the brick building that we looked at earlier. So whoever was there originally, they're kind of upset at themselves now, because now Blank Legion ended up going on ahead and taking it from them. So man, it was the team that went on ahead and was taken out by Old Guard. So that I think it was Dream Team. Yeah, you're right. Dream Team, they decided to be aggressive onto the northern side. They left this compound. Now Blank Legion has it, and as you can see, it's being gifted. Oh, and from there, they're able to go on ahead and inform everybody who's trying to get inside zone at this point. Everybody needs to be coming down that hill. They need to be coming out of these fields even more towards them, and they can just go on ahead and shoot them off. It looks like only one person actually made it inside with them.
Man, and it's going to be so tough to hold on to that. Not Cloud rushing in with almost zero health, of course, making it only so far before getting taken out in the process. But now we move on into our final three teams. It is Tactical, it is Old Guard, and it is Blank Legion. Simp there from the Old Guard, of course, already getting knocked on out. But now we wait to see what the players from Tactical and the Old Guard are going to be doing and how they're going to try and get into that zone. The only way in is down the hill.
I really hope one of them have a vehicle, because I feel like that's the only way that they're going to be able to make it without Blank Legion just completely ripping them up. And we can see that there's only buggies around them. Oh, it does look like they have one that's a little bit on fire, but Tactical, they need to go ahead and choose the best tactical opportunity to do this. It looks like they're actually going ahead and tossing down a ton of smokes, which will definitely help out, but they should have probably tossed up some by them as well as they started making their initial drive down. So I'm curious to see what is going to happen here, and if Blank Legion, if they're going to be able to spot both of these teams as they're both trying to smoke their way in.
I mean, it might be some really easy pickings coming in for the side of Blank Legion, as the teams now get ready to push on forward. Two players from Tactical getting knocked, but down goes Hybrid. Quick response coming in. Oh, Old Guard turning around, turning their attention into Tactical, hitting them on the way into that zone. Of course, Old Guard managing to sneak on up, just finding a beautiful angle, but of course, very fortunate for them. Hybrid got knocked out, and that is kind of, I think, where that changeover came in and made it possible for these other two teams, Tactical and of course the Old Guard, to find a safe position within that zone.
I'm actually really surprised that Tactical didn't end up taking that vehicle and just sending it down. I wonder if more of them would have been able to survive if they went on ahead and did that. But the reality is only one of them went on ahead and made it down to this little half wall here. There's still 3 members of Blank Legion left. I mean, Rambo kind of has to be a little bit careful over there alone, but with 2 other Old Guard members now tossing a bunch of util in his direction. But that means that, I mean, the Tactical Esport member, he's just going to go on ahead and chill. Blank Legion at this point, I don't know if they really have the numbers and a look around to really be able to go on ahead and start sweeping this edge.
I mean, and this is now down to the wire for Gunny, taking that opportunity to rush on in. Hybrid not striking at the chance there. Oh, costing them 1 player. Will it cost them 2? Yes, it does.
No way.
What?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Old Guard.
Oh,
man.
Nice.
That was a beautiful greedy play, but now of course the tables have been turned on to the side of Blank Legion as Old Guard now come rushing up, all sending in towards Rambo. Oh, not even a headband is going to save you from that push. What a play, what a finish. Old Guard coming in, claiming the chicken dinner, and of course with that, a very comfortable 8 kills. A very aggressive play coming in there from Old Guard, Blank Legion, and Tactical.
I have a feeling that I think Blank Legion might have needed to go on ahead and get together and start sweeping that edge. They definitely couldn't have let that many people get into their compound at that point. And then since they were so spread apart and ended up taking a bunch of 1v1s, that didn't end up getting them the chicken dinner. But I mean, I absolutely loved the member of Old Guard also identified that there's a fight happening inside that building and was able to take out the last member of Tactical.
It's just so unfortunate for Blank Legion that they were a little bit slow to react on that push coming in from Ghani. I mean, had they spotted that a little bit faster, that would have been absolutely beautifully defended, I think. It could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But of course,
there was definitely an opportunity for a trade. Yeah, but unfortunate.
It is what it is. As we move on now, the players there from Blank Legion finishing up with 10 kills over in 2nd place. So really strong performance definitely coming in from our top 3 teams there. Tactical also finishing off on 7 kills. So some really good numbers. Of course, Active Gaming, don't forget about them. They finished in 4th place on 4 points. Will that be enough to retain that position? Or will they get challenged for that one? Of course, now version 3 finding themselves over in 5th place on 2 kills. Rez with 1 kill in 6th place. We got ATROX finishing in 7th place on 7 kills. Then the players there from African Rise over in 8th. We got the team from Extreme finishing in 9th place with 4 kills. The players from Extra finishing over in 10th place on 1. Genesis finishing in 11th with 2 kills. And of course, Ghetto Youth in 12th place on 1 as well. Juntas in 13th place with 1. Dream Team in 14th with 5 kills. And then of course, Your Killer is finishing up in 15th place. So I'm very impressed that Dream Team managed to get 5 kills, even though they finished in 14th place.
I mean, they were the ones that were aggressive super early on in this game. And I mean, their first one was successful. The second one, not so much. So it seems like that was their downfall. Maybe getting a little bit too aggressive too early on in positions that they didn't necessarily need to. But I mean, that's part of the gamble. It looks like they wanted to go for kills this time.
Yeah, well, it did pay off on the kill side. They at least managed to get 5 before getting sent back. So what a spicy and interesting map that was. But of course, we got 1 more to go. 1 more. The final game is making its way. All right, so we're going to be heading into a quick break while we wait for the final match. So stay tuned and let us know in the chat, who do you think is going to be the team to grab the final chicken dinner of the day? Give us your predictions, and of course, we'll see you back after the break. What's up, guys? Welcome back. It is time for the final match, and of course in the previous one we saw quite a few interesting performances, a very clutch play right there at the end, and a beautiful show of aggression, of course, finding its way on through. And I mean, we saw the players from Tactical coming into the top 3 for the second time today, so hopefully things are looking quite well, looking up there for them. But of course, speaking of which, Span, we're going to be jumping into those results.
Yeah, so as we can tell, it looks like Old Guard's once again grabbing that first place position from Active Gaming. So it looks like it's just a game of them going back and forth. And obviously with this last game now, it's just vital for both of these teams to go on ahead and do well and see who ends up coming out on top. But also, you ended up mentioning Tactical Esports again finding themselves in one of those top few placement points there in the last game. They actually went on ahead and our last leaderboard, they're 20 points away from Resurrection directly above them. And now it's just down to 10 points. So they also have the opportunity to go on ahead and make it into that top 5 teams for the very ending here. And I mean, it's the ending. It's so close. All these teams need to go on ahead and do well if they want to try and jump further up the leaderboard.
Yeah, and of course, this is their final chance. This is the final run, the final flight path, the final drop they're going to be making here today. So it is pretty neck and neck against, or rather between the Old Guard and the players there from Active Gaming. So I'm going to be curious to see, or interested to see, who's going to be the team. It's going to be either of them. So of course, let us know in chat, who do you think between Old Guard and Active Gaming is going to be the team to clutch this chicken dinner?
I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a close one. So we got to keep an eye on them. I mean, it looks like Old Guard are going on ahead, jumping up towards Nojo, North Georgia pull up there. So they're so far kind of alone. There's only 2 teams down to the southern part of them as well. And I mean, and then Active as well. Where are they? They're actually on the complete opposite side of the map on Mill to Power. And it looks like the first zone is actually also going to join them over there to the eastern side.
Oh, we've got a few teams now actually mixing up their drop spots. That is what we wanted to see. 2 teams in Pochinki, 2 teams up in Rozhok. The players there from Ghetto Youth, of course, are getting challenged by ATROX. And things could get pretty heated over in towards Pochinki. As you can see now, a few shots already coming in there over in towards the Rozhok side. So the party already getting started as Ghetto Youth now defend themselves against the side of ATROX. Ooh, the hits also finding their way on in a beautiful way to start off this final match. Pappy getting knocked out, Soho getting thirsted, and of course Enigma now getting ready to push in, trying to follow up on that knock and potentially maybe try and get a squad wipe. Oh! Nope.
A little bit greedy there. I don't think he even thought to go on ahead and clear out the rest of the building. I mean, there's just so many other members of Ghetto Youth inside that one. You can see that Yaha now trying to figure out what else to do. Needs to go actually play this a little bit smarter, make some rotations. Oh, but a nice knock at least onto one of them for right now, short, as they're getting the rest onto the other 2 members. Patriot now coming on over to help as well. It's still down to a 2v4 potentially. Oh, but it looks like they might be able to get these last 3 knocks. 3 now, still up.
And I'm loving the aggression that we see coming in there from ATROX. They are just not wasting a moment, sending up full force onto the side here of Ghetto Youth. And of course, so far, it is actually starting to pay off very decently for them. Yaya now just trying to gain entry onto that next floor. Up they come, down goes Sly. Oh, Hene, now the last remaining player just waiting. Oh, prepping it up, and down he goes.
Ooh. Nice push ended up coming through from ATROX there. I mean, they only had 2 people, so nicely played by them being able to take out all 4 of those members. They're actually trapped inside this 2-story. I mean, if you look around, they really had no other terrain or buildings to play off of if they tried to leave. So ATROX, they instantly went on ahead and took advantage of that. So it looks like they're the winners of Rozhok, but at a huge deficit now that there's only 2 people left.
Yeah, so nice show of aggression, but of course, as you mentioned, you know, the deficit is what the deficit is. So curious to see how far they're going to make it through in this final match. But of course, now you see the players here from Blank Legion trying to hold their side of the school shelter region. As there's only 3 of them. Where's the 4th one? Oh, up in the north, Libanox, all the way on that far side. Now I'm interested to see how that one is going to work out. Will we see Libanox move a little bit closer to get that off-angle position? Because it's quite difficult with these buildings. or are they going to use it as an anchor point to potentially try and rotate out from?
I don't know. I mean, potentially even from here, he might be able to spot out Sherlock. So there is some advantage from sending somebody up onto the northern side. At least try to provide some sort of cover. But I mean, right when his team starts getting pushed, I feel like he needs to come closer and help them out.
We can see definitely that Libanox is on the move just up ahead. Now the question comes in is he going to try and provide that support to his team? Because we see a 3-1 split coming in from both sides. Blank Legion having 3 players here. Then, of course, Libanox on the far side. And then, of course, Tactical. 3 players right up on the front line with Sherlock on the off angle there. So I'm quite curious to see what Libanox is going to be doing. Is he going to try and potentially maybe move in? Because as you mentioned, there is that chance that he could have a beautiful line of sight onto the players there from Tactical as they are situated up on the roof.
So he doesn't want to deal with it. He's actually just going to go on ahead and send it straight on in. So that means all of the members from Blank Legion are now inside this one apartment. And I feel like that's a little bit dangerous. I mean, technically, Tactical eSports, they could go on ahead and get us around on this. And I don't know if Blank Legion would be able to disengage. But especially if Sherlock goes on ahead and takes advantage position over there on the western side. But I mean, we'll have to see. They might just leave each other alone.
We'll definitely see how this one will pan out, of course, and I would have really liked to see Libanox hold that northern position. Maybe because I mean, looking at where Tactical is, they are up on the roofs, they are exposed. Yeah,
like there's definitely potential for him to stay up there on that northern compound and take some shots towards the 50, end up spotting them out. But like I said, if on the alternate side, I mean, the more usual approach is a team is just going to go on ahead and just full on push into the school apartment, and then from there you can't really shoot inside through the building. So I mean, Libanox, I guess he went on ahead and did a little bit of a 50-50 split, and I mean, it looks like Tactical eSports, they know better than to push inside an entire apartment building with a whole 4-man inside of it, or even a 3-man. Even that itself is too hard to push into. So they're just kind of waiting to see when they leave out, and I think that's really the best option for an apartment fight. Oh, because of that.
Oop. All right. Was it taking the fastest way down? Oh, healer.
No.
So nice shots coming in there. Tactical not getting ready to push in, trying to regroup and apply the pressure onto the side here of Blank Legion. But of course now, oh, the shots still just flying up. Gyrobot taking quite a bit of damage. Oh, down he goes. Oh, God, he gets ended. And with that, the rest of the Blank Legion team. Such an unfortunate play.
I mean, I'm a little bit upset at Wizard there. He ended up just yeeting off the building, and then I don't think he maybe have communicated that to his team, because he ended up pushing inside that building alone, which I think is really dangerous. Like, he got knocked, and luckily, he didn't get flushed. And I mean, it also looks like, I mean, we can see actually eSports, they're interested in getting involved too. Snow actually finding some of them out here as they're trying to get these reses on the outside of the building. The rest of the team now coming back. I wonder if they're interested enough to crash onto it?
Ooh, well, we'll see. I mean, there is that potential, but of course, you know, we still have that roof factor also coming in, as, you know, the players on the offside, they don't necessarily know exactly where the rest of the team is. They were only able to get a bit of a visual onto the side there of Gyro. So, I mean, if I was extra, I wouldn't push in to that position. Maybe hold the angle that they've got there. You know, you're still able to find some of the placements of the team there and potentially pick off a few shots in their direction. But of course, that is exactly what they are doing right now.
Yeah, just from there, you know, the rest of Tactical eSports is going to go on ahead and just push further inside of apartments is what I would assume. Probably, I mean, they don't have to leave just yet, but now they're up. I mean, originally, if actually eSports realized that they were in a huge fight and they saw that 2 of them had gotten knocked and they had crashed right then, they could have capitalized off of it. But then, right when the rest started happening and we saw that they're all of Extra were pretty far away, at that point it's a little bit too late to go on ahead and make some sort of crash. So I'm at least glad that they recognize that as well.
Yeah, well, you gotta give credit where credit is due. But now we're heading quickly over in towards the shelter side as we see Dream Team and Rez now positioned fairly close together. So this is also a very interesting position for both these teams, as it could... Wow, that was a weird way of saying it. As it could... There we go. That's the correct term. It could swing either which way. But Dream Team, we only see 2 of their players here, so they might just be scouting things out for the time being. But of course, now African Rise, they don't seem to be scouting. They seem to be rushing, and up they come. And we could see them moving straight onto the side there of the players from Rez. And of course, the shots come through. Down goes Rayon. As Dream Team now just continue to try and move further down in towards the south, to try and evade the shots. But the zone now shifting in once again over towards that far eastern side.
Wow. Instantly still, everybody grabbing vehicles and making a move. It does look like our Rozhok area is still a little bit congested, so it seems like we might see a little bit of skirmishes happening over there, at least while people are initially making the move out. But this is the time where they need to go on ahead and get out of there and get into this new zone.
And of course, there is quite a big zone that we have left, but quite a portion of it being cut off there by the water that has now come into play, as that zone throws a little bit of a spanner in the works. So I'm curious to see where these teams are going to try and rotate on up into. And of course, you know, ATROX and JUNTAS, both these teams still need to try and find their way up into zone. So I'm quite surprised that we see Yaya moving up in such an aggressive way in the direction of JUNTAS.
I mean, right now, JUNTAS is up on top of the hill by Rozhok. I wonder if, do they not have a vehicle? Maybe they're just kind of waiting to see if they're going to drive by so they can go on ahead and yoink it. I think Bumblebee obviously knows better, though. Is actually going on ahead and peeking over themselves before they make any sort of a move. It does look like they're deciding to be aggressive on this, yeah. I'm kind of surprised about that. Now that the zone has shifted, this is not inside zone whatsoever. And I mean, it's not like they're directly on top of each other and needing to take the fight. They are in position to go on ahead and leave. But they're not.
Strange. But of course, well, we'll see how that goes as we now look. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This is where things get spicy. So many teams now all starting to converge into this more centralized portion of the zone. The shots now finding their way on through over into the side of your killers as they are rushing past so many teams. Rez now also making their way on up, and things are looking so tough. Just look at the zone. Such a big concentration of players.
No, there really is. Everybody decided to go and try and grab the same locations. I mean, I was going to say in this zone, while some of it is definitely water and the zone is still big enough to have all the 13 teams be able to play out of, there's really only few locations that are actually, I don't want to say worth it, but are prioritized in this kind of a zone, because there's also a ton of fields inside of this zone, a ton of hills that people don't really want to play up on top of. So there's really only few locations that are quote-unquote playable for these guys to go on ahead to grab. And as we saw there, a lot of those guys ended up kind of coming near each other, trying to figure out which of those are still free to take.
But it's also a little bit of that deer in the headlights situation happening there. You rotate and you see it playing, you go like, oh,
We're going out.
yes.
Yeah. I do like what version 3 here is doing, going on and making rotation down to that lumber yard, and even by prison. Ooh, okay. It looks like your killer is an Extreme Gaming. Both want Noble Compound, and so far, I mean, not working out for both of them. Just kind of waiting for right now, it seems like.
Having a bit of a standoff come in between the teams here, and of course now we see the few hits coming in there from the tactical side. They're going at it once again, but also this bombardment now coming onto the side here of Extreme as the players here from Your Killer is just come rushing on in. Down goes Madonna X, now trying to find the shots in towards Hasbot, who rushes around the corner, comes guns blazing, and with that, Your Killer is now down to 2, so the numbers getting turned up in favor of the players there from Extreme. But of course, on that, we see Sparza getting knocked right on out. But now Nax comes rushing in to provide that extra bit of support. And of course, now 2-man team remain for the side here of Your Killer is.
Oh, wow. This is not going the way I expected, honestly. But I mean, you just have to go ahead and find those initial knocks. And now Sid, he's just kind of waiting and holding that door. They kind of had to play this as solos since they're both stuck in different buildings. And Shroud going down in the distance, he really does just have to play this as a solo, trying to hold that doorway. He might be able to get at least one knock, might block the doorway for a little bit, but otherwise, I don't see how Sid gets out of here. This compound is smack dab in the center of a big field. There's no way that he'd be able to start running away without one of the members of Extreme spotting him out.
The one thing he also needs to be careful of is the window on the opposite building. Because he's focusing all his attention on this doorway. And Extreme could actually just position themselves just on the offside and find those angles straight up in towards them. But of course now you can see that lobby starting to heat on up as well. So many more heads finding their way on through. The utilities now getting sent up. They're trying to fish for the position. Sid just staying absolutely motionless, not making a sound. Waiting to see if the players here from Extreme are going to try and push on in. But we see those shots now coming up from Genesis as well in the kill feed. A lot of teams starting to take engagements. And of course, that is what we've been waiting for the fight. But here we go. The smoke now dissipating. Sid cooking up another one, sending it downstairs. Sparma actually repositioning closer to the side of the road to just get that peek in the window. See who is sitting atop the staircase. Oh, nice little play as they come rushing on in. Down he goes now. Wow.
Yeah, I think he then realized that his position wasn't safe when he saw that person running up the hill right beside him, so he tried to make a move for it a little bit too early. I mean, now that that compound has been actually taken over the zone once again, it's on the very edge, kind of down in a bowl. It's not as wanted as before, and this is now throwing everybody more into that position where I mentioned that there's like a ton of fields. I mean, albeit in those fields there are a few dips the teams are able to play, but otherwise completely out in the open. And I mean, we can even see here Resurrection currently trying to find a little bit of a place to play. Actually, it seems like they already have one. Godzilla's just trying to meet up with them. I think do they have Trophy? Oh no, they have Junkyard. Went across the entire zone to go on ahead and find a place to be able to play, but at least they found themselves a place to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good a space as any. It is still a decent position to be fighting from, of course, depending on where the next phase is going to be going. So if the zone shifts west once again, they're really in a very good positioning. And of course, we could see that defensive play coming in from that position. But of course, either which way the zone goes, it is going to be quite a bit of a challenge for the teams that are not within that zone to find a decent place, a decent positioning, and potentially even an entry point.
Yeah, that's very true. Now is the point where all of the actual priority locations have been taken, right? Like all of the hard cover locations, buildings, actual marked places on the map are taken. And now if anybody else needs to try and make a way inside here, there are very few dips that are playable, but they are playable. So I'm interested to see if those spots are going to be identified and played in later on, or if we're just going to see a bunch of chaos with people crashing or just making wild rotations. I'm interested.
Well, this is the last match. This is the last match.
Yes.
This is our final third zone closing on in. The last time the zone's going to be closing up for the third phase. So I'm curious to see where this next one is going to be going in. Hopefully we're going to see the players get aggressive. You know, it is now down to the wire. It is now a do or die. Like, show us what you got.
I agree. I like that their long-range weapon there is actually a DP trying to take out version 3 here. I mean, unfortunately for African Rise there, I mean, they have the trophy building, which is obviously bigger. You can go on ahead and see more from there. But version 3 now, they have Alamo directly in front of them. They're a little bit closer to the center of zone, and it can kind of be a pain in the back for African Rise if they try and make any sort of rotation out of here. So usually what you see is an actual, like a 2-2 split between these two locations, but instead in this situation, there's two entire teams in these locations.
Welcome to mobile. You know, we got to keep things interesting. We got to change it up.
I mean, it definitely does happen, especially when crashes come into play, and it actually looks like a crash just happened under version 3. It looks like Alamo is actually wanted, and it is wanted by who is that? Is that Extreme or is that Extra?
Yep.
It's Extreme Gaming.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, so many hits coming in across the board. Everything now riding on Any and Vito. Version 3 looking a little bit worse for wear on their health bars. Any now just left with a fairly full health bar, but of course trying that little bit of pre-fire. Oh, here we go, here we go. Any now getting rushed. Will he be able to hold his own in the little shack? No. Down he goes. Extreme applying the pressure, rushing on in. And in that, of course, sending them backing. But now, here we go, here we go. So many teams now starting to rotate on through. Oh, Sass getting hit in the process. Swirly now just dropping out. Oh, trying to get into position to maybe try and get closer for a res. But of course, well, it is no longer an option as we move up with 9 teams, 28 players still alive. And this is where we expect things to get a little bit uncomfortable for the players.
Oh, yeah, this is the point where everybody needs to really know how to be able to play all of these ridges over here. And it looks like Resurrection might know how to, so really needs to continue to use those smokes to their advantage. Otherwise, Resurrection is going to be able to spot them out really well. Kind of looks like Tactical Esports is also helping them out over there further to the eastern side. But other than that, I mean, ooh, the sun actually shifted once again, but they're completely out in the open. This is hard territory to play out of. Just straight up, there isn't that many places to be able to play. Like everybody has to go on ahead and be aggressive onto, especially with this new zone shift.
It is going to be such a challenge. And on that note, Swirly gets ended, gets sent back. Godzilla, being big as Godzilla is, getting stuck on the corner of the vehicle, which is once again pretty standard stuff. Now we see Rez trying to rotate on in tactical. Of course, now just listening to the vehicles rush right past them. Genesis positioned up in the north, trying to use that vantage point to find a few extra hits. But of course, the rest of Tactical now just up ahead of the rest team as they find their way on in from the north. So many teams still to make their way on up, but now Rez getting forced into the smokes, trying to find an extra little bit of hard cover as they are getting challenged for their position. But here we go as well now. The old guard sneaking in a sneaky shot off the side, right into the edge. And of course, Dream Team up ahead, just getting absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, looks like all they can do is just prone on out and hope they don't get spotted here on the very southern side of the circle. At least they're inside zone here. They have a little bit of cover with some vehicles and trees. I mean, they're definitely in a better of a position than the majority of other people still trying to get inside this zone. I'm a little bit curious. I wonder if anybody's going to try making a rotation on the southern side, and they might be found out in a really bad spot.
Yeah. I mean, this is how you know stuff is about to get real, when you see the weapons just hanging around in midair. You know, like, it is about to go down.
Becoming sentient.
Yeah. Like, that's next level. You don't even have to hold your gun. You know, it just hangs there. It waits for you to step into it and just aim it.
Exactly.
Ooh. Just look at the zone, though. I mean, seeing the players really starting to push up into the zone, really trying to find that positioning. But as you mentioned, of course, this portion of the zone is just fields. It is just open, empty fields, not much cover to really make much use of, aside from the odd vehicles that are getting dumped on the way on in. 1 or 2 rocks also providing an extra little bit of additional cover. And of course, a few ridge lines just to assist along the way. So this is going to be quite interesting to see how the teams are going to try and make it out of this one in one piece.
And how appropriate is this, actually? It looks like Active Gaming and the Old Guard, they're both directly next to each other over on this eastern side. And these are the 2 teams that have been swapping back and forth for first place this entire time. So, I mean, if they end up getting into a fight, that could determine who goes on ahead and gets out of this tournament in first place. So, they're right next to each other. I'm interested to see what happens.
Well, it seems like Active is going to try and rotate up in towards zone, pushing in the direction there of Rez, but beautiful positioning here with the vehicles. Of course, now they just need to get those vehicles blown up, as that is still quite a bit of a potential threat there for them. Rez now just welcoming them in up to the tree, sending a few hits up towards them. But of course, the shots finding the way on up there from the Old Guard. Down goes Badman, as we see the shots find their way on over But now, this is where the teams are pretty exposed in their positionings. Everyone just trying to improve their spot, trying to sneak on in, sneak on up. And of course now, Dream Team attempting exactly that. Everything now riding on the two remaining players here. As you can see, King and Rash as they come dashing on in. And Extreme, I mean, they just accept the delivery. And down they go.
Very true. I mean, now at this point, everybody is on the very edges. They attempted to try and provide themselves some sort of cover using their mobile hard cover is what I call vehicles at this point, because that's the only cover given to them. Otherwise, there's fields, there's very small ridges, and I mean, Active Gaming as well. We saw their 3 vehicles being used that way, and now I'm glad they didn't blow up their vehicles because they have to continue on inside the zone.
What a barrage.
Nice knocks.
Yeah, this is insane. Oh, nice defensive play coming out there from Genesis. Sending out some cheeky nades well in advance. As we see the players there from Extreme trying to push on up everything now. Of course, down to Warlord and Poppy as they just managed to find that quick res on in. Warlord now just dropping down alongside his teammates, trying to put in those shots, but of course gets knocked out in the process. Poppy now also very low on health. Will he be able to get out of this one and potentially squeeze on into the next zone? They are so close, right there on the edge of the zone. 5 teams remain, and things are looking so difficult. Oh!
Wow, more nice knocks coming through. It looks like Active Gaming, so far they've been able to maintain 3 people at least. It looks like they're still outside of the zone, not grabbing their vehicles and get it again. Instead, they're deciding to start sweeping their edge, pushing straight towards Resurrection. I mean, at this point, they might be able to pick up a ton of points for themselves. I'm just a little bit worried because of all the blue zone damage coming in and the potential from all these other teams to hold them out. But so far, fine. It looks like all these people on the southern side are a little bit occupied, and Old Guard is just down to Joey.
I mean, things are looking tough, and down goes Active. Wow.
Oh.
The blue zone coming in and just demolishing them. But of course, no surprise, the blue zone. Blue zone is brutal. You wondering?
I wonder if I wonder if that's enough points to be able to go on ahead and call it, because Active and Old Guard, they've been fighting this entire time for that first place spot. But we'll have to go on ahead and see. Old Guard already had a little bit of advantage being in first place so far, now down to a 1v4, and it looks like he will be able to get 1, maybe 2 knocks, but he'll still go out in second place. Extreme Gaming, what? They ended up going on ahead and getting a lot of placement points in these last 3 games.
Yeah, coming out of nowhere. And of course, bringing yet another surprise performance. Chicken dinner. And of course, finishing it off with 18 kills.
That is absolutely massive. I wonder, that could be enough to go on ahead and jump up again, actually. There was a little bit of a shelf there that I wasn't quite sure if they're going to be able to move up. But now with that performance, there's potential.
Yeah, they might even have moved up into the top 5. I mean, it's going to be...
Maybe even 2, yeah.
It's going to be so close. But what an absolutely phenomenal performance we saw coming in there from the players of Extreme. Fantastic stuff. And of course, Old Guard finishing up in second place, 4 kills. Will it be enough for them to retain that pole position? We're going to be finding out very soon as we see the players from Active sitting in third place on 2 points. So Active coming into this match, 7 points behind.
Yeah, I think that might have called it then with that placement points and those kill points. I think Active Gaming realized, try to push up to the northern side to get those kills and just were only able to get 2. And I think that might just call it for Old Guards, but of course we'll have to see based off of the actual leaderboard. Don't trust us in caster math, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you know, crazier things have happened.
But of course, now as we continue down the rest of our standings, Genesis finished up in 4th place on 4 kills. We got Reyes finishing on 3 kills in 5th place. Dream Team coming into 6th there on 1. The players from Tactical finishing with 7 kills in 7th place. There's something about 7th place and 7 kills that we've been seeing coming in here today. And of course, African Rise finishing up in 8th place there, as you can see, on 2 kills. We got the team then from Extra finishing in 9th on 1. We got version 3 over in 10th place. Your Killer is in 11th. The players there from ATROX finishing in 12th place on 4 kills. JUNTAS in 13th, Blank Legion in 14th place, and then of course the players from GHETTO Youth finishing up in 15th, but finishing off with 2 kills as well. So very good performance coming in here from the teams. I have to say I'm very pleased with what we've been seeing, especially in the aggression today. Yes, I understand it was the finals, but I liked it. You know, just the way the teams approach the matches, the way they push relentlessly to try and get those points and bring in the change. And of course, one of the teams doing exactly that was the players coming in from Extreme.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, first of all, those last 3 games, those are 3 really, really hard end zone places for all those teams to try and play out of, first of all. So then the team that has been lower on the leaderboard, Extreme Gaming, to be able to go and actually pull out, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? Be able to be champions, I guess I'll go on ahead and say, being able to end in the top 3 for placement points in all 3 of those games and gain a lot of points. I mean, they're able to pull out a lot in these last 3 games.
Yeah, they definitely brought quite a bit to the table here today, because I mean, if we look at the standings they were in coming into today, right? There was already a bit of a difference. I mean, Extreme came into today sitting in 10th place on 93 points. All right. Now they've had these past 3 absolutely phenomenal games. They finished off the previous one sitting on well, that was, now I need to find the name, 88. Right? I think I need glasses too because I can't see the numbers. I'm joking. It's just too many words. But definitely, like, they came out of the woodwork, you know. No, sorry, I was looking at the wrong... I went back a bit. My bad. Alright, so at the end of the previous match, Extreme finished in 7th place on 123. There we go. That's the right number. My bad. Misspoke on that one. So yeah, I agree. A really, really strong performance from them. But I also want to talk about the players that we saw from Your Killer Is. They've managed to move into 4th place without getting a single chicken dinner, though.
That means they just went on ahead and pulled out a ton of kills. I mean, that's also a feat to go on ahead and take. And I mean, first place, that's interesting. I mean, obviously there's placement points below first place as well, but first place is usually, you know, obviously the most amount of points, and them being able to make it all the way up there without gaining that 15-point boost there. I mean, that's pretty impressive to still probably be able to balance still gaining placement points and kills throughout that entire thing and putting themselves in 4th place. That's big.
Yeah. And of course, now, speaking about big, all right, we're going to be jumping into those results now. The results are in. We're about to see who made it up to where, all right? So before I do, I know you know the results, okay? But in the chat, give us your predictions. Quickly, I'll give you 2 seconds. Give us your prediction. Let us know, who do you think came out on top. All right, and go. 2 seconds. Ta-da! All right, so there we go. There we go. The players from the old guards come in, stealing the show on 266 points, 103 kill points. Active Gaming also on 103 kill points, but 11 points behind on placement.
Wow.
That is insane.
Yeah. That last game was really big as well. Active Gaming, they needed to go and sweep everybody up on that northern side and get at least another placement above them, or even win the game. If they won the game, that would have completely changed this for Active Gaming.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but like, we've seen so many teams, especially in today's matches, come out of nowhere, just stepping up, bringing the aggression, bringing the gameplay. And it's the gameplay we know they have. The skills we know is there. It's not dormant skills. It's there. It's out. It's been developed, you know? So I'm so pleased to see the teams putting those skills to use today, stepping up and just delivering an absolutely phenomenal performance. But of course, as we move down that leaderboard, right? So our top 4 teams, of course, the teams that will be getting their share of the prize money. Got to point out, you know, once again, Your Killer is 4th place. No chicken dinner. Phenomenal stuff. But then we move down. Rest coming into 5th. Extreme making such a beautiful comeback all the way up into 6th place. They are 156 points. And then, of course, we see those chicken dinners just continue all the way on down, all the way to Blank Legion, who's managed to end up on 108 points over in 10th place. But that is, of course, where we see those kills also start to drop. And just such an aggressive play coming in from all these teams. But I want to give it, in fact, to all these teams, right? They've all just played a really, really good game. Especially in these finals, they've really stepped it up. They've taken it to the next level, brought in that extra bit of gameplay, and that is essentially what we wanted to see. We want to see the teams play like they were playing in these finals. But of course, that gives them a good point to look back at and see, okay, cool, this is where I was, this is how I performed. What is there for me to now to improve on, and how can we take that moving forward?
That's very true. And I mean, I just, those last 3 games especially, and even the other games I got to be a part of, I just got to see a lot of, I feel like I saw a lot of different stuff today than when I went on ahead and joined you for the first few days. So even just that difference is huge as this league went on ahead and moved on. So I definitely think I saw a difference in gameplay, and maybe them getting used to each other in the lobby. I'm not quite sure, but a lot of good play, especially in these last 3 games. So I am so glad to have been a part of this and watched it. And yeah, being a part of watching these teams grow throughout this entire league.
Yeah, well, there we go. There we have it. But of course, that is going to bring us to the end of our broadcast here today. Want to give a big shout out to everyone that tuned in and watched. And of course, big shout out going out to the teams. Once again, huge congratulations going out to the players there from my old guard, sealing the show with some crazy, insane plays. Then, of course, I want to thank you as well, Spans. Thank you so much for joining me. It was an absolute blast. And, of course, well, we got some exciting stuff happening as well. But, of course, more on that a little bit later. So, yeah, that is going to be the end. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, cool. Here we go.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, guys. Stay safe and see you in the next one.